Well, I'm going to put forth something. It's basically my opinion, but I'm going to base it upon fact. Um, there's basically an inherent design flaw in every single Beck Zapper out there, and what the design flaw is actually is that the fact that it uses AC current. Now, I know there's dangers to using plain DC current. Bob Beck even stated that plain DC current will wreck the blood, and that is an absolute fact. What it'll do is it'll clump the blood together, and some places the blood has to pass through capillaries so small that only a single blood cell can fit through. So if the blood's clumped together, it can cause havoc. And when you use pulsed AC current, it actually unclumps the blood. And this is partly why the Beck protocol seems to provide more energy. That's one reason. The other reason is that it also is using half the human Earth frequency, which is the natural frequency of the Earth. That is also something that's been noted for healing and regeneration, not really so much from the medical community, but from the scientific community. It's when animals and even people that are attached to the Earth by the soles of their feet, they receive that frequency. You will actually, it will actually provide you healing benefits. So when they're using half the human Earth frequency, it does provide some type of healing benefits. But there's limitations on these damn things, and sometimes it's just coming down to a little more energy and feeling a little bit better versus being something that's going to work for some serious conditions. But I'm going to state that there's actually a design flaw in all Beck Zappers in that it uses AC electricity. Now, just to go over what AC electricity is, I had to take this from an actual electrician, more or less. Well, somebody that really knows their stuff. AC voltages are actually DC voltages at a particular instant of time, and thus they do have polarity. In other words, AC is alternating current, and it goes positive, negative, and this is actually very important. The polarity of instantaneous DC voltages is just as important, and for the same reasons as constant DC voltages. Now, this is coming from an electrician's standpoint, not talking about using electricity on the body, but I just want to point out that AC voltage does, in fact, go positive and negative. And I even talk about phase. If you have it wrong with the phase, you'll have a short out and a fire just as you would have with DC or AC. It does matter if you have it the wrong way. Okay, if you're connecting two different circuits together in phase, you got to watch what you're doing. There is a polarity in AC voltages. Now, what I want to point out on this is that this is something Hulda Clark stated, and I could state to you, though, that it is a known fact now that, and it's also, you can get this from Dr. Jerry Tennant, too, that the body's electrical charge is basically slightly negative or alkaline, which is a slightly negative pH. The parasites are more acidic or positively charged, which is a acidic pH, and the body is a slightly alkaline pH, which is a negative charge. Well, Hulda Clark stated that the voltage on the zappers needs to be 100% positive offset. Well, I guess what she's attempting to do here is use it as an electron. Well, she states that this is the way it works. It shorts out the microbes. It kills them even if you don't have the correct mortal oscillatory rate. If you're going negative, it works as an electron donor. She doesn't quite state that, but even if you vary the voltage negative, even momentarily, it supports and maintains their lives. So with AC voltage, you're going as much positive as you are going negative. That's one design flaw of the Beck Zapper. Now, the Beck Zapper is not supposed to work exactly that way. It's supposed to stun viruses according to a patent by Colley and Lyman. The 1992 patent by Colley and Lyman's Kaali and Lyman Lyman. I'm not going to display them. There was work they did in the New York City Einstein College of Medicine, and what happened, Albert Einstein College of Medicine in New York City, what that happened was they found that microbes can be stunned with low levels of electricity. The first patent in 1992 was plain DC. Second patent in 1993 was using AC. Now, what I'm going to state, though, the design flaw of the Beck pulsar is the fact that it uses AC because it goes negative, and in certain cases, it's probably not a good thing. Because if we were looking at from the statements of Hulda Clark, in other words, you got to watch. I'm going to actually provide you with what should be a better solution. Not that it's going to be a cure-all, and I'm never going to claim it's going to be a cure-all, but it's just a better solution. But what she states is a positive electrical force that pulses up and down only appears to kill tiny invaders. It's shorting them out. And it's working as, at the same time, it's energizing white blood cells to go on an all-out attack against your enemies. In other words, the positive electricity is actually charging up the white cells. It's working as an electron donor. Just like if you put the battery set inside of a flashlight and you had a new battery with an old battery, the positive would be attached to the negative of the old battery. It would work as an electron donor. If you use it the other way, they don't work. Okay, but in spite of, so in other words, she says that, and actually she states here to zap for 8 hours. I don't know if she has that. I went over that before, but she did state that it's for 8 hours total, not 2 hours. But I want to actually state, though, something with this thing, with the Beck protocol in the design flaw, being that it's AC electricity. Well, one thing that it seems to work on that is that there has been reports of success. Not to say that it's definitely going to work, but there's one serious issue that there have been reports of success that are far more than, let's say, just hearsay testimonies. Not that I could evaluate this exactly, but it would be malaria. Now, the interesting thing about malaria is that it is primarily a disease of the blood, and when you're doing the Beck protocol zapping, you're actually electrifying the blood. That's really what you're mainly doing. So you're getting where the malaria is. You're actually zapping exactly more where the malaria is. But I also want to point this out, and I found this highly interesting. The Beck Zappers are typically at 3.9 hertz or 4 hertz, right in that ballpark. And you look at the consolidated annotated frequency list for the mortal oscillatory rate for malaria, and lo and behold, it's 4 hertz. Now, a lot of times you'll hear, like, yes, the Beck Zapper worked for this or that. It does seem to work on certain things, and it does seem to provide energy, because the 3.9 hertz or 3.915 hertz, the exact middle half of the human Earth frequency, has been researched by World Rife's assistant, John Crane, that it is healing and regeneration. It does seem to help in some ways, but is it a cure-all, as Beck said? No. But what I'm stating here is the real problem with the Beck Zapper is that it goes negative. So, for instance, if you're looking at other issues that are not malaria, or maybe some other issues that are more complex, like cancers and things like that, or Epstein-Barr, or HIV, or bird flu, or even Ebola, hang it up if you're going to try this deal, because actually this thing could help. What I'm saying, I want to get back to this one statement again. The part about it goes. We established that it goes negative because it's AC electricity. But even if varying the voltage becomes negative, even momentarily, it helps and supports maintains the lives of parasites. So if you are using the Beck Zapper and it's at 3.9 hertz or 4 hertz, right in that range, and it's not the mortal oscillatory rate of the microbe, you can actually be helping along microbes and viri and things like that, even though the patent itself says it can stun those types of things. You can actually be helping it along, because when the voltage goes negative, you are actually charging up the microbes. Now, the patent itself has been not something medically evaluated like for many years as what Hulda Clark's documented research has done. She actually does have a list of a lot of different frequencies that are the moral oscillatory rate for various microbes. It's a long list, and what you would need to use that to go against that would be to use that list. You would actually need a frequency generator versus a zapper. But in the world of zapping, you want to make sure that the voltage is only pulsing one way, and the only way to do that is to have this style of zapper versus the Beck style, which uses AC, which definitely goes negative half the time. That's something you definitely do not want. Now, I just want to state this too, that the problem though with the Beck Zapper, is that as you're looking to use it against conditions like cancers or viruses, like I stated, since it goes negative, it can actually help those things along, and they're all like that because they use AC. Now, I've used a couple of these products. Actually, I got three. Well, actually, I have even one from Bioelectric. I have their Canada Zapper, which is 464 hertz and 30,000 hertz. And I actually like this is the CC1. This is an older version. I have the Zapper CC2 and the Zapper Mount My. I like both of those, but I just want to point out that the CC2 is pretty price competitive if you're not wanting to spend a lot of money on a zapper, because I know the Beck Zappers are, they're at least, I'd say 150. Sometimes you can get them down to like below 100 if you're buying, but normally they're over 200. This one, the CC2, I'm showing the CC1, the older version, comes with the handhelds and a battery, and you want to use a heavy-duty rechargeable battery, 9.6 volt battery, so you have to keep buying batteries. It's $159. So, if you want to blow a lot of money on something. But I like one frequency on this thing that's pretty damn good, is the 15 hertz. And on the Zapper My, I happen to use, I often use, now that one's more expensive. A lot of people won't want to buy that because it's more expensive, although, I'm not selling this stuff because some people accuse me of selling it, but I'm not. I usually use the 4 hertz or the 3.9 hertz, which is healing and regeneration. But it's all going positive direction. It's all going positive direction as per Hulda Clark's, methodology. See, that is an actual inherent design flaw of the Beck Zapper, because you'll hear some things there. The Beck Zapper has cured or helped people cure malaria, and I tend to believe that because there's more than a few testimonies out there, but it also makes sense because malaria is primarily a disease of the blood, and malaria's mortal oscillatory rate, according to the Consolidated Annotated Frequency List, is 4 hertz, and that's about what a lot of the Beck Zappers are running at. It makes a lot of sense that it would work on that issue only, but on other issues it can actually be doing the opposite because the voltage is varying negative because it's AC. It's going 50% positive, 50% negative. And Hulda Clark was adamant about this deal. Now, not going negative. Now, another good deal out there that I got, and I think is a very good deal, is you can get this with the handhelds and everything, is the Spooky 2 generator. And you can run every single Hulda Clark frequency out there that's in her list that you can download on a spreadsheet. And actually the program tells you everything in there, what the frequencies are, and you can run them as positive offset and use the handhelds. And the main drawback to the frequency generators is that you have to be near the machine if you're going to use the contact method. And the remote method, I don't want to say it doesn't work or does work or what. I'm not sure how strong it is. That's the part. It's like so new. It's like, maybe it's been out about 10 years now, but they actually have a remote method they can use. And I am not really sure, you know, I don't know how powerful that is, but I just want to put this out in simplistic terms using the contact method. This would be a very, very good one. The only problem is with frequency generator, it's great. It's a great generator. Is that you don't have this portability, and I tend to use this Zapper way, way, way more in contact mode than I ever used the Spooky 2 generator I was using remote mode. But what I'm getting at here is that the design flaw of the Beck Zapper is that it goes positive negative because it's just simply AC. Whereas zappers such as this one is going only positive, and it's never even going all the way down to zero. It's never going negative, as Hulda Clark said. Now, that's, to me, is a very, very, very important thing. Now, you could actually build your own zappers off of plans somewhat, and I'll show you the link. I'm going to actually point to it in the comment, where you can plug in values and make a 4 hertz or 3.915 hertz zapper that is sort of like the Beck design, but it's only going one way. It's not going negative. Because I think I think the Beck Zapper can actually cause certain issues to replicate even more. And even in the case of something like Ebola, you know, I mean, I don't think this would work on Ebola at all, I'll tell you the truth, the Beck Zapper. But it can even make it worse. That's what I'm thinking. Because it's going negative. It's AC electricity. Like, again, AC electricity does really have polarity. It goes positive, negative. It's not going positive in a different direction. It's, you know, per the electricians, it's going. They understand what this deal is, and I'm just stating that you don't want to use something that's going negative, because if the voltage is even varied negative, even momentarily, in the case of the Beck Zapper, it's going negative 50% of the time. It helps and maintains the lives of parasites. I mean, a Beck Zapper works on the principle of stunning parasites with electricity in the blood. But that's not going to always work that way with every single parasite, despite what Beck said, because I doubt he had a special microscope to evaluate all this stuff and spent all the time on it too. You know, I don't want to say too much negative about this guy, because then I get jumped all over on the internet, because, you know, people think I'm being mean about it, but I'm telling you the flat out truth. There's something really way fishy about what Bob Beck's claims were. And, you know, this simple plan that he put out here for free was actually well known. It's not like the blood electrification with the electrodes was well known, but zappers were designed, and they also knew how to make any frequency there was with this simple 5-5 timer for years before Bob Beck put out his design. So I don't think he could have ever patented it. But the thing is, if you make this, you probably really want to make it with strictly positive pulses versus positive negative. Now, the Zapper My Zapper has a mode in there that does that, and I use that mode. I use that one a lot, but it's $350, and I think a lot of people, I don't know. I'm not going to say it's too much, because it does use a full-size 16 megahertz crystal-controlled oscillator, like a true frequency generator, and it has 88 frequencies that are programmed in various modes. It's actually very cheap compared to other zappers, but I know some people just don't have that kind of money. But the thing is, and I'm pointing out here, is, you know, the CC2 is actually a very good deal too. 29 frequencies, 159. That was the one I picked up first. But what I want to say here, though, again, is the real design flaw of this zapper, the Beck Zapper, is that it goes negative. I mean, I know somebody's going to tell me that's not really why it's supposed to work. It's supposed to work by stunning microbes, according to the Colley and Lyman patent. I know that. But the point is, I don't know how many microbes these people have really evaluated on, other than what Beck said. I mean, they evaluated on some things, but I mean, Beck says it works on everything. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is not the results that have been happening in the real world. A patent is not a guarantee that something's going to work in the real world. They have to demonstrate that it works under the controlled conditions to convince the patent office that, yeah, they got something here. But that doesn't mean it's some kind of, what they're claiming it to be. And the only one that actually claimed it to be all these other things was Bob Beck himself. But I do want to point out again that there is one serious condition that the Beck Zapper seems to work pretty good on. Not that I would guarantee it would work, but there's been a lot of testimonies that are probably legit about the malaria. And the reason being is because it's very near the malaria's mortal oscillatory rate, and also the fact that malaria is more of a disease of the blood, and what you're doing is treating the blood specifically with this mortal oscillatory rate, 4 hertz. Well, the Beck Zappers are supposed to be 3.9 hertz, but when using resistors, a lot of them are around 4 hertz, and it's going to be close enough to work. So that's why they seem to work sometimes. On not the guarantee, but if you're using Ebola virus, I don't know where that actual mortal oscillatory rate is. I could probably look that up right now real quickly for you, but it's actually several frequencies, and I don't know if it's going to work though, but they're usually higher up. They're like 1914, 1914, 1195, and the Spooky 2 generator could run that, but I don't even know if that would work. I know one thing: if I had Ebola, I would use everything I possibly could, and I would not be using the Beck Zapper. I would be using positive offset only, and running specific frequencies for Ebola. So anyway, I just want to put this out because that's the inherent design flaw of the Beck Zapper itself. Because it's AC. That's the problem. It does go negative. And Hulda Clark says if it goes and people are going to say she's a this and that, but I think she was a little bit extreme in a lot of things, but she's a little bit, every single plastic item out there you should not touch, and we live in a real world. I mean, we're going to be exposed to toxins no matter what we do. But her basic tenets was about the positive offset was extremely important, and also some of the basic herbs she talked about and the basic cleanses. Those are probably extremely good ideas, but as far as the Beck Zapper having a design flaw, I say it definitely does, because it's AC voltage, and it does. That means it varies the voltage 50% of the time negatively, and she says if it varies negative even momentarily, it helps and maintains the lives of parasites and microbes and viri and bacteria. Even though the electrical current can stun them, it's not going to always work to stun them. It can actually accentuate microbes in some cases. That is an inherent design flaw, and there's nothing you can do about it. They're all like that. So I just want to put this out here because that is really why there's a real limit on the Beck Zapper. They should all be made with positive offset, actually. That's really how they should be made. They really should be. But it's like sometimes people will say that, well, that's DC voltage. But I have to state this. Plain DC voltage does wreck the blood. But they have been using pulsed DC voltage from frequency generators, even with, amplifiers attached to them for many years. And it has not. It has not caused any kind of problems like that. It is plain DC voltage that's the problem. So anyway, I just want to put this out here because that's actually a design flaw in every single Beck Zapper out there, and it's like, I don't know, that's one reason I'm not using it now. I'm actually tried installing a diode in an attempt to make the Beck Zapper go all positive, but what happens is it doesn't quite go all positive. It goes 27.5 volts positive and 2.5 volts negative, which is not as bad as 50-50. But so I don't use it that much anymore. So I've been using Hulda Clark style zappers almost all the time, but I've been using them around that frequency of the 3.915 hertz, half the Schumann Earth frequency, and 4 hertz, which is the frequency the Beck Zapper uses, but I'm only using positive offset. So to me, that's an inherent design flaw in the Beck Zapper, period. And it's not going to work on everything for that reason. And even if you had that design flaw fixed, I would not count on it to work on anything, but I think it would be a design improvement, at least. Let me put it that way.